Hi, welcome to Toy Hill Studio. My name is Kendall Kessler. I'm going to do another one of my Center of My Mind paintings. In the mood for an abstract, and I've got better paper this time, so I'm hoping I can really get some good bleeding, because I'm not real sure what I want to do, but I have an idea that I want to really let the paint sink into it, and then I'm going to go back into it a lot. So probably I'm just going to get it started in this video, and then I want to go back into it a lot with small brushwork and just a really complicated system. I'm going to start off with a medium-sized brush and just see if I can really get this to happen. And I decided I want to do it in like circles, or start off in circles. I never know about this type of painting. Mostly I like to do representational work, but then sometimes I really like to do what I call center of my mind paintings, where the reaction is purely in terms of how the paint is put down and what happens, and not working from anything specific. I don't know who watches these, and I hope I get different people. So I do tend to repeat myself a lot, and I am going to, once again, talk a little bit about abstract art, or what artists like to call non-objective art or non-figurative art. This kind of art is meant to be appreciated by just how it looks. We all have biases. We all have things we like to see, things we don't like to see so much, and when we come to artwork, we bring those biases with us. And if it's not a picture of something you really like, painting, whatever, then you may not like it as much. For example, a lot of people are really into horses, a lot of people are really into cars. It just all depends. When you can't recognize the shape there, then you either like it just by the way it looks, or you don't, and certainly don't have to. But it's not like what a lot of people think, that artists are trying to confuse people or say, oh, this is really, really great art, and it's so much better than when you work from something. And that's not true. All art is an abstraction from nature. None of it is real. You can't really reproduce what's there, as Claude Monet certainly showed, as he did these incredible landscapes where he was changing the canvas every 15 minutes. And he realized that you really can't capture it because the light is always changing, atmosphere is changing. You really can't get what's there. And something I said in another video that I like to say that I think is a really, really good way of getting people to understand that is, if you took a photograph of the sun and you looked at it, it wouldn't hurt your eyes. Okay, go outside and stare at the sun and see what happens. You really can't reproduce what's there. Painters or photographers. It's a type of shadow. And when artists work this way, it's just a reaction to what you're doing and what's happening with the paint. This is not, as always, what I pretty much plan to do. I really wanted to get very, very complicated. Right now it's not very complicated, so I'm probably going to go right back into it when this is done. I have a feeling it's going to be a short one. I don't know, I think I'll start right now to get it more complicated. It did have some nice bleeding, but I just want to do so much more and just have so much to look at. It wasn't really planned, but it just kind of happens. Planned a little bit. And just get something that is really, really something to be looked at for its own sake and not a picture of something else. I mostly like to work from the Blue Ridge, and they're what we call representational, but they're never exactly what's there. Most people just call them impressionistic, and most people have a completely different understanding of what that word is. A lot of people think it means just doing what you want to do, and it's actually the opposite. Impressionism was an attempt to try to get what's there before the light changes as much as possible. That's why Monet did that cathedral just over and over again. He kept changing his canvas as the light changed, and all of them look like such different paintings when it's just a cathedral in different lights. I don't know. I'm being a lot simpler with this one I thought I was going to be, because I really like the way it's bleeding. So this might be a really, really short YouTube. And it's always a problem because with any kind of art, it doesn't matter what kind it is. If you start to get something, then you think, well, I'll do something else. Then you lose what you had. And that is a big, big complaint that artists have. And on my portfolio, I have a lot of the initial stages of a painting so that people can get prints of that and they're not lost. And most of the time, I'm happier with how I change it. But I like a lot of artists, I have lost things because once you go over it, you can't really get it back. Now I'm starting to not like what's happening right now because the colors are kind of dulling out and I really want some vibrancy. So I think it's probably time to get out my really beautiful blue-green because that really always tends to get real strong and does beautiful things. Don't know, this is kind of tricky. I don't want it to be a painting that is done in one layer. I really want to get complicated, but then I'm going to lose some of this bleeding stuff. And it's kind of turning into one of my suggestions paintings. If you've seen some of my YouTubes, you've seen some where I just kind of play with the paint, and then if something shows up, I go with it. I paint in a lot of different directions. I'm very eclectic, and I'm fascinated with all different kinds of art. But I'm starting to see a flower over there. So, I don't know. I don't think I'm going to do that, but I'm starting to see a flower and a fish, and all kinds of things are showing up. I really did want to keep it non-objective. As I said before, the reasons I do those suggestions paintings, you can see a number of those videos, is because I always see things in artwork that's supposed to be completely non-objective, non-figurative, no precise shapes. And so I thought, well, I'm going to do a series where I just paint and see if something comes up and then go with it. And be sure to check that out on my portfolio, my suggestion series. But the largest one you're going to find is the ones on mountains because I live in the most beautiful place in the world. My husband has taken me around to wonderful, wonderful sightings and shown me the gorgeous place that he grew up in and tries real hard to protect. He spends a lot of time trying to get people to see how important conservation is. He's a very, very dedicated naturalist. He keeps records of birds all the time, in the car, everywhere he goes. And I tell people he's a very dedicated naturalist, and he says, yeah, I'm committed or ought to be. Great sense of humor, too. But yeah, he is really pretty amazing. If you go online and put Clyde Kessler in Google, you'll be amazed at all the research you see, and he also writes poetry and has published a lot of that. We've published a number of books together. If you watch my YouTube, I know you hear a lot of the same things, but I always hope that more people are watching more and more, and I want to be sure to get these things out. Well, I'm starting to really like it the way it is. I'm going to probably have a hard time going back into it because I really like the bleeding, and you can't really bleed again because it just doesn't work real well. You have to get the paper wet and then bleed it and gets all this fuzzy effect, and then that's all you can do. So, I don't know. I'm going to stop right there and look at it for a while and decide if I want to lose all that nice bleeding stuff by getting it more complicated. I may or may not. Thank you for watching. Please be sure to click on the link in the description of the final painting, and there are a lot of links to my artwork, to other types of my artwork.